What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cam and Collins Collective. As you know, I'm your co-host, Cam Graham, joined by my wonderful friend,
Shane Collins.
I do.
I didn't know you was going. I didn't know you was going to introduce me as well. That's on me.
No. Shane can introduce himself, but he's such a great person that we both got to say his name at the same time.
You said I'm a big boy now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, boy. So, guys, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for watching our first episode. We really appreciate it. And we're back with some more stuff for you this week. We're gonna start off again with a rose, a thorn, and a bud. Shane, what has been going on in your life since the last time we were together?
Yeah, so it was just Thanksgiving yesterday. We don't like them pilgrims though. So today, Happy Indigenous People Day. Let's clap it up. Let's clap it up, Cameron. Clap it up one time. Clap it up one time. Happy Indigenous People Day. Much love to the native land. And you know, okay, I was gonna get a little off topic.
Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
You know, just they keep having all these days and months dedicated, right? I'm a little against, cause they're dissociating, Cameron. It's like having an Indigenous Peoples Day is like, today, y'all, we gonna remember. Tomorrow, back to the old white ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay. Anywho, didn't do a lot for just another Thursday for me, really. Just another Thursday. I was chilling. Me and my Dukes was chilling. You know what I'm saying? Just hanging out. I'm okay. I'm kind of slacking on my on the homework basis. So that's kind of whooping my tail. Yeah. I got some stuff I gotta get done. You know, hopefully by the end of this break, or I'm gonna be really behind. So we're just gonna be on that school grind. But that's my thorn. And I know this a little later in the show, but we started a new show, y'all. This show, golly, I'm loving it. No McDonald's. I'll leave it there. Cameron, what about you, my friend? Rose Thorn? Bud?
Well, for a rose, as Shane said, Thanksgiving was yesterday. And while, I don't mess with it in the traditional sense, like the Pilgrims came together and were friends with the Native Americans, because we know that's not true. We're not in second grade anymore, where they were teaching us about the happy first Thanksgiving. But I mean, regardless, it's like a good time to get together with the family and everything. And my mom, and like my siblings help out and like cook the food. My mom really just tells me where to go and I do it. But we all help and like set up the table, and then we watched a movie last night called Jingle Jangle. It's a Christmas movie on Netflix with Forrest Whitaker. And low key, it was a cute movie. It was cheesy, but then at the same time, you got the all black cast, which we love. And then, there's just like, it annoys me when people call stuff like cheesy, but they like the classics. Because, cheesiness came from the classic films, right? So part of me is like, you can't call a remake of like It's a Wonderful Life cheesy, but think It's a Wonderful Life is the most original thing out there. You know? That's just me. Maybe that's a little twisted because it did create the formula, but just in my mind it's just like, so yeah, cute movie, great kid actors. Forrest Whitaker, of course, is my dude. Um, Thorn. Um, I don't know. Like, I guess like I'm taking this class, right? Um,
Mhm.
it's called Dimensions of Racism. For
You
college.
said the dimensions of racism.
Yes, Dimensions of Racism. Um, and
Okay, I need to clarify one more time. Did you say
dimensions
like space and dimension or the mention? Like I mentioned
like
it.
DIMENSIONS.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I say dimensions and Shane's immediately like space.
Okay.
Just the way that racism works in like different like communities and places and through like how we've constructed the concept of race throughout time. But I got a teacher, and like I don't want to like crap on teachers and everything. My dad is a teacher. Some of my favorite people in the world are teachers. But this lady, she is so like, she's one of those teachers. We write these essays, and I got a 90 on my essay, right? Which is
Not bad.
good. But if you
Yeah.
read the comments on my essay, it looked like I was an idiot. She's one of those teachers that only writes negative stuff on the essays and then gives them back to you. And doesn't even just straight up explain what you did wrong. It's like she highlighted a thing on my essay and she said, "So what?" Or she highlighted something else and just put 3 question marks. And I'm like,
Disrespectful.
yeah, I'm like, don't this like way to make me feel stupid. She's like the type of teacher that like I makes me want to like switch my major and go into education so I can be a better teacher than she is. Now, am I gonna do that? No. But in my head, I'm like, you know what? I think your teachers would get a lot more out of your class if you uplifted them, told them what they can do to improve, as opposed to it. She seems like one of those teachers that are like, she motivates her teachers by getting them to hate her, you know? Like it kind of put in my mind like, okay, well, I'll show you how oh, you think I'm stupid? Okay, I'll show you how smart I am. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't like
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about those teachers. I think they're gonna break kids down after a while. That works with some people. It doesn't work with everyone. I think it works with me because I'm kind of like, but with some kids, it just hurts them,
Yeah.
So that's a thorn in my back, um, as it has been this entire semester. Even though I have a pretty good grade, but something I'm looking forward to still is this semester being up. I think I have, when we get back from break, we only have two weeks left, and then I'm free willy, and hopefully I pass all my classes. If not, I can blame it on the pandemic. So that's how it is. Now, for this week's top 5 segment, um, last week we spoke about Ben Affleck as Batman.
Huh? You talking about the top 5 segment, son?
No. Yes, no, not
Oh,
last week.
hey, wait, hold on. I'm disrupting your artistic genius. I'm that's on me. Go ahead, Playboy. Go ahead, Playboy.
Shane saving me as usual, though. But like last week, we spoke about Ben Affleck as Batman in our as kind of like our discussion, and it got me thinking, like, DC sucks aside from like aside from like 3 movies. So we were like,
You're being generous with that number.
yeah. Wonder Woman was pretty good. Maybe some
Yeah.
other Shazam I heard was pretty good.
That was actually one of the probably like top 2.
Yeah. Other than that, like I think, nah. But the king, which has been the king for several years, is Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we know. So we're thinking, what are our top 5 Marvel movies? You know, as kids growing up in the 2000s, you know, we grew up with those movies. Gen Z kids grew up with the Marvel movies.
Okay.
And we've seen most of them. So we started getting to thinking, what are our top 5? Shane, we will go back and forth.
All right.
With our picks. Shane, hit me with your number 5 and a quick why, and I'll hit you with my number 5.
Number 5 is gonna come in at. This is a bad time to ask. You can't hear my fan, can you?
Nah, you good.
All right. All right. Number 5, we coming through with Captain America: Winter Soldier. The villain, I guess technically the villain was Bucky. You know, y'all know how that ended up if y'all been following the Marvel movies. But it was really the action sequences, rather the fight choreography. I'm a huge fan of fight choreography. Or just like, yeah, when it's done right, ooh, you know what I'm saying? Action sequences was great. At the beginning, we had he was running around Anthony Mackie, and he kept lapping him, talking about on your left. You remember that, Cameron?
Yeah.
On your left, he kept lapping him. That was pretty funny. You know, that's really it. It was good action, and that's really the big thing. That's why it's in my number 5.
Yeah. I that barely. I think that's my number 6. That barely made my top 5. Almost made my top 5. But my number 5 is Spider-Man: Far From Home. Now, what I really like about this movie, I think Spider-Man is one of those characters that I feel like no matter who plays him, you're always gonna like some, unless he's like a douchebag. You're always gonna, if he's how he is supposed to be, he's always gonna be kind of a likable guy. You know, he has a great origin story, maybe one of the best origin stories.
Yeah.
It's just like Tom Holland is just like he's personable. He can pass for a nerd, but he can also pass for like a superhero. And I feel like coming off of the biggest Marvel movie to date, which was Avengers Endgame, this was like the perfect. This has been described as kind of the epilogue of what, Phase 4?
Phase 3.
Phase 3, yeah. I just like, you know, everybody that like disappeared because of the snap is coming back, and people are trying to figure out how to readjust and everything. And you know, you got all these memorials for Tony Stark. You kind of see how the world is kind of trying to come back together after Thanos. And I just thought that was really cool, showing how, because a lot of the time with superhero movies, you know, superheroes fight the villains, the entire city gets destroyed, and just the next movie comes around and then just everything is back to normal, and you don't see like the dip and the rise again.
Yeah.
I think that was really cool to see, especially with Peter Parker losing like a father figure to him, and kind of how like Samuel Jackson jumped in that spot that Tony Stark was. He was less, but like he was like a hard uncle, you know? He wasn't giving like the love and advice and care that Tony was. He was a lot more strict and harder on him. And I really enjoyed that. And it had really good action sequences. Jake Gyllenhaal as a Mystico.
Yes.
The green guy with the thing and the super Spider-Man cartoons. Great villain. He had me fooled for a second. I was like, where is this leading? And I was like, oh.
He was a good villain. I'll give you that. He did. He fooled me too. I was like, Huh?
Yeah, it caught me off
Right.
guard. So yeah, those are some reasons. And then finally, just you know, I'm a fool for romance. As much as I don't want to like admit it, as much as I'm like I don't know, just like the romance from, and I'll wrap it up in a second, but the romance from Homecoming was a little like start stop, and it didn't really seem like he achieved anything as much as just having a crush. Just the kiss payoff. I don't know. That did something for my heart, seeing that like mutual love for each other and everything in the kiss. And then Zendaya, is just my girl. She's been my girl since like 2012 on Shake It Up. So
Okay. Yeah.
that's
Oh,
all right. Hit us with
that's a cool.
number 4.
All right. So number 4, I'm pretty confident about the rest of the list. Number 4, come through with Black Panther. Okay. Uh R.I.P. Chadwick. That's number 1. Um this movie, there low key, there is not a lot of there haven't been a lot of great villains in Marvel. There's been a couple. And this movie has one of the probably top 3 in Killmonger. We couldn't hate him. You could, but like you were like, but like I also support what he's saying. So um it was the I'll say the first watch through, it was like probably top 3 movies I'd seen. When I went back and watched it, and, it had its flaws. And, CGI got a little shaky,
Yeah.
but Chadwick, oh man, it was an all-star cast, low key. It was a lot. Lupita, one of my favorite actresses is ever.
Yeah.
Shoot, the action was okay. It wasn't the great. The story is definitely what made Black Panther for me.
Mhm.
Um, the story and the villain are what made the Black Panther. But I mean, it was still a great watch. Yeah, and that's my number 4 spot. Pretty simple.
All
Cameron.
right. My number 4 spot, it's coming in with 2012's blockbuster, The Avengers, the first Avengers movie. Now, I'm I understand I'm in the minority. As the Avengers movies went on, I don't know, they kind of like weighed on me a little bit. It's kind of like I don't know if I got like first off, they just got like each one got like about 45 minutes longer. And I mean, I'm cool with long movies, but like I was like, oh my god. But I mean, even on top of that, it's just I felt like it had its highs and lows. I'll just say that. Um, this first Avengers movie was like unlike anything we had like ever seen before. I don't know if we had um a like a crossover. Have we had a crossover superhero movie before this? At least we had it in Marvel. So
No.
it's just something about seeing Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Hawkeye, and Black Widow just all together, and Thor. Can't forget about my dude Thor.
Boy.
Just all together. I don't know. It was something like as a kid because I remember going to see it. It was just like surreal to me. I was like, how are all of these guys together at the same time? And I just remember that feeling when I was a kid. It was just like it's just so cool. And just I don't know, they reintroduced Bruce Banner. Um and I have my thoughts on that. I'll get to that later. But just like I felt like it did a fantastic job in introducing the Hulk and Bruce Banner again. It played up enough of a difference to where like Bruce Banner was this kind, nice guy and Hulk was this monster, which I loved. and like I enjoyed how like the Avengers didn't get along. It's like too much ego in one room. They saved the world by themselves, you know. So they would get into fights. I remember Hulk was fighting Iron Man and Thor and Tony Hawk and Tony Stark, not Hawk, was to get into arguments with Captain America.
I low key didn't even catch it at first.
Yeah, I stopped for a second. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
It
um,
registered, but it okay. Yeah.
but it was just I think they played up all the different conflicting personalities and star power together and just coming together to just take down this one guy and save the world. I don't know. As a blockbuster, this is the quench. When I think of blockbuster films, like in Marvel, I think of the Avengers. I feel like they made additional Avengers movies, but this was, in my mind, the quintessential blockbuster. You got all of them together fighting up against Loki, who's probably one of the smartest villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just thought it was so cool. All right, Shane, here's with your number 3.
Okay. Immediately, we're just gonna continue with what you said because my number 3 is the blockbuster, the original Marvel Avengers.
Yeah.
That is my number 3 spot. Now, this movie, Cameron touched on a lot of things. He touched on Bruce Banner. I think this was the best, like the best Hulk action we ever got. Hulk, one of my favorite superheroes of all time. This was the best Hulk action in a movie. Everything else, they punked the dog out of Hulk, bro. I mean, they did they did my boy dirty. You touched on they didn't get along at first. That makes sense, you know, when you used to being the guy, and then you got 5 other the guys, you gon' you know it's gonna be some headbutting. You know, when they were on the what's it called, I don't know, that just the aircraft, not the aircraft carrier, the helicarrier, I don't know, whatever the shield ship is on. Great close. I mean, even within there was the little scuffle between Black Widow and what's his name, Hawkeye. That was a nice little scuffle. There was the fight between Thor and Hawk, when they were in the aircraft part of the helicarrier. That's confusing. Of the helicarrier, that was great. And I think this movie like just had, not only was it just like you said, a ton of fun and bigger, just action wise, like for a child, and to have these superheroes up on a screen. What more can you ask for? What, like that's your dream come true, and it's, you just really can't fathom it till you see it on screen. I think what makes Marvel so great, unlike DC, is the fact that they have just a really great combination of, you know, they got comedy, but they, you know, they're a lot more comedic, a lot more personable than any of the DC movies up until Shazam. And they combine humor with drama very well. Marvel, I feel they do. So I think this like capped that off. They had some great moments in there. You know, when Hulk and Thor end up in that building, they huffing puffing. Hulk goes, hits my boy Thor with the little side punch. Great. And then this obviously, like, I think this is the intro to Thanos, I want to say. So there's that too. That's my number 3.
All right, yeah.
That was a try sweat to end out. Now, go ahead.
No, well, I think we both can agree that the Adventures was fantastic. I think that's probably the closest me and Shane are gonna get to our picks. I'm assuming. I'm calling it right now. I don't know. We'll see. Um, My number 3, to revisit a point that I just made, my number 3. Now Shane touched on it when he said the Hulk was one of his favorite superheroes, like of all time. The Hulk is Cameron Graham's favorite definitive superhero of all time. I love him with all of my heart. And when I was 8, I got my like 8-inch Incredible Hulk action figure. Took my mom's hand and she led me into a movie called The Incredible Hulk. Now The Incredible Hulk was the second. It gets lost. People forget that it's a part of the first phase of the MCU. People part of the MCU because Mark Ruffalo has become so. Mark Ruffalo has played him longer and in more movies. I think Edward Norton even got fired because he's kind of difficult to work with.
Yeah.
But I think a point that Shane made that makes Marvel so great is that it makes the people in their films personable and relatable. I think that's its the greatest quality, and I also think at sometimes it can be its greatest weakness. You know, I don't think I need to see the Hulk cracking jokes. I don't know. I don't think I need to see the Hulk playing around like a dog in Asgard. Remember with I forget Tessa Thompson's character?
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie, yeah. Like I don't know if I need to see that, you know? And I think Bruce Banner is a tragic character. And I think people lose track of that sometimes. And I think in the MCU lost track of that sometimes. He's not even I wouldn't even call him a superhero. The Hulk isn't a superhero. He's just he's the embodiment of Bruce Banner's rage that has to be utilized for good because the world doesn't know how to stop other things like him, where the government keeps creating monsters and Bruce Banner has to use his to stop them. Bruce Banner isn't trying to Hulk and Bruce Banner aren't trying to save anyone because the metaphorical man is on them too. And I just think it just did a great job at just showing
the white man is on him again.
The white man is on Bruce Banner
again.
But I just think it showed just such a great job at just showing his isolation, how sad he was and how desperate he was just to have a normal life, and he couldn't. He's always on the run. He can never be with the woman that he loves. And he's just in a constant state of just kind of sadness. Another thing about The Incredible Hulk that makes it one of my favorite for me is it probably has, in my opinion, it has the greatest boss fight scene at the end of the movie out of any Marvel movie I've ever seen. I will go on a limb and say that. I'm not counting the Avengers movies where they're all together and getting into those big wars. As far as a one-on-one, I think it's a him and Abomination at the end, that 10-minute fight scene. I believe Hulk rips. Hulk gets knocked down in about 15 seconds by Thanos. In the Incredible Hulk wraps a chain around Abomination's neck, yanks back with all of his might, takes Abomination's elbow, rips it out of his arm, stabs him in the chest with it, and continues to choke him. Greatest fight scene in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All right, you can.
Before we move on, I just want to add on because that's one of my favorites as well. That's easily one of my favorites as well. It has a soft spot in my heart. When there wasn't a lot of, when when nobody really knew it was part of phase one, I always went back to it. Like I said, it's me, one of my favorite, Cam's favorite. I went back and watched it so much, bro. I told him the other day when he kicks when Abomination kicks the car up like a skateboard and just I don't remember what he does with it, but it's the coldest. They're just operating at a different level, and then the fire erupts from the helicopter. He turns around, just like you're just like get him, you know what I'm saying?
It's
no hurry.
It's too great. It's too great. Anyone who argues that it isn't is stupid and no longer has an opinion with me. It's fantastic. Now we're gonna move through these next couple of ones a little bit quicker, but that one is just very special to my heart, and I think it gets crapped on because it's not as I admit it's not as funny as the other ones are. It's harder to be like it's harder to enjoy than the other ones because it's not as like joyful, but I think that's what the character of Hulk was meant to be. He's not supposed to be like this fun-loving, this type of guy that you wear on your t-shirts. This is a monster that a man has to walk around with every day, and I think that's what makes him so special. So we'll move through these next ones a little swifter. Shane, did you say your number 3?
My number 3 was the original Avengers.
Okay. So
my number 2, I'm gonna just take it from you right there. Number 2, I go from the original Avengers in 3 to 2. I go Infinity War.
Okay.
Infinity War. Okay, it was long as dog. Okay, long as dog. That's true. And that and Endgame combined is like 6-7 hours or something. It's something crazy. Golly, that's a long. I like literally. I view the movie in like 3 sections. Like it's intense. So it's a culmination. Obviously, when there's we're kind of used to the collaborative process by now, but this was even at a bigger scale at this point. Thanos is. I don't think anyone really has any I mean, there are arguments, but I don't think anyone would be mad with the claim that Thanos is the best villain that the MCU has seen by far. Okay, he just is incredibly intelligent, and that's the first one. Obviously, he can fight. He has years upon thousands of years of experience. He's just the ultimate enemy to the original of Avengers cast. I think the whole thing called the Infinity Saga. So to the Infinity Saga, he's the ultimate villain. Josh Brolin voice, he has a great voice for it. I don't know if you want to choose in between. Like I think one of the better fights was Iron Man versus Thanos. Oh, when he was holding his own. Oh my God! I mean, what isn't that? There were. So first of all, I'm getting caught up because I'm getting excited. Let me calm down, okay? Probably the last hour was what puts it at my number 2. Just purely off action and what a chorus.
You got it, Shane. You got it.
I will hit you so hard. Like it will be quick how fast I hit you. Okay. Incredible. And there was so there's the battle at Wakanda, and that's iconic. Personally, the fighting on Titan was what got me just out of my boots. Just Infinity War was crazy. Everyone's favorite characters in one movie. Movie didn't end up like it wasn't a positive ending. I think a little switch up in the feeling. Like it didn't end on a good note, and I like that too. I like the diversity, I like the complexity, the originality, the end result. Those reasons, my number 2 is Infinity War. Cameron?
All right. My number 2 is Captain America Civil War. Now, I hate Captain America. I think Captain America to me represents the poster good-looking buff white guy that the media forces us all to believe is like what it means to be handsome or attractive or likable. I think his name is literally Captain America. And I'm not gonna get too woke.
Yeah,
but just think about that. Just let that marinate. Captain America, nice blonde,
blue-eyed devil. That's what he is. Nice blonde, blue-eyed devil. That's all he is. That's all he is.
And I guess while this is technically a Captain America movie, it's not. It's basically another Avengers movie. But there's just so many things to this. Remember when they planted, and I think they did such a good job. They planted in the Avengers, the very first Avengers movie, that it's possible for these people not to get along. Yeah. Just because they're superheroes and just because they're saving the world, the egos that come into the room and the differences and different views and philosophy makes it easy for them not to get along. And in this
can I interrupt just for a sec? This is literally my number 1. Well, let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about it because this is my number 1. So
in this movie, a culmination of all these films, they're all Iron Man saving the world, Thor saving the world, Captain America's doing stuff, and they all come together, and then it blows up. Captain America has a friend who straight up killed this dude, or was responsible for or connected to Iron Man's dad dying. And Iron Man is like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then Captain America is like, I know that you feel bad, but hey, his brain wasn't in check, so I can't let you do anything to him. And Captain America's like, he killed my dad, let me at him. And then they just come together. And then a special thing in this movie for me is there's a guy lurking in the background. He pops up in the beginning because this Bucky dude is messing up stuff all around the world.
That's true.
He messes with the wrong dudes. Messing with Captain America's dad, yes, that's bad. That causes a war. But he messed with the wrong dude's dad over in a special country called Wakanda. The first time we see Black Panther in a film. And I swear, even back then, this guy, I think, was one of the standout characters to me. He was on him so hard by himself.
Cameron. This fight scene or this chase scene.
Oh my goodness. He was chasing the mess out of this dude. He did not want to stop.
Okay. It got set up by the explosion in the building. You know, he was like, I can't do it accent right now.
he was on this unrelenting. I think this might have been for me one of the best introductions of a superhero like ever. It shows you how the lengths he will go to achieve what he feels he needs to achieve. This chased Captain America, Bucky, all these people through the entire city, fought all of them by himself because they went against him and they took advantage of his honor and his family. And he was willing to go to defend them.
Nobody really, okay, if you didn't follow the comics, you probably didn't know who Black Panther was before Civil War. Or if you're, okay, I'm not gonna go there. You probably didn't know and it was like, who is this dude in his Black Panther suit putting a pause on Captain America, who we've established, like I said, my number 5 is Winter Soldier. Great fight choreography. He's putting a pause on Captain America, so Captain America says, "Shoot, I gotta get away from this man. He on my tail." So he jumps into the street, tries to run away. Black Panther says, "You tripping?" He chases this man for like keeping pace, catching up. I think he tries to. I mean, I think they try to hop on a car. He hops on a car, doing his little Panther thing. Oh my gosh!
Honestly, this came out when I was like 16, 17, and I thought, like, in my head, I was like, I'm kind of over it. Like, I enjoy like the superhero movies, like, legit, but I'm kind of over it. I'm almost an adult now. This scene, if no other scene did it in the movie, other than like the big war scene at the end, if no other scene did it in the movie, this put me right back into like an 8-year-old's mind. So great.
You know what's crazy, Cameron?
What?
And I think what's about this movie, the 3 big action sequences in this movie are what make it my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, so this is the most action combined with not the most action, but like some of the most action combined with probably the second most important part of the because this is what splits everybody up. It sets up for Infinity War, talking about there was a bunch to talk about there. And so we talked about the chase sequence. There's the big fight when everybody's duking it out. Of course, that's great. But then and at the end, when Tony finds out that Bucky killed his dad, he was like, "Bro, so you expect me to do nothing? Like what do you want from me, bro? I gotta kill him. Like it's his, bro. I don't care if he was brainwashed. You killed my parents. You gotta go."
Yeah. And I think this was the first.
And then Captain America was like, "Bro, relax."
Yeah, bro, relax. I can't let you do that to my boy, though. I was like, "Ooh."
And you know what's messed up? Captain America knew everything. He knew everything. He knew everyone because he was alive in both generations. He knew Tony's dad, so that's messed up. He knew that Bucky killed Tony's dad and didn't tell. And I think that's what like turned Iron Man officially. I think that was kind of like coming back to an understanding. But when Captain America was like, or I think I don't know, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but Tony was like, "Bro, you knew?" He was like, "You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah, but like, it's my boy. Come on, like
So it sets up for the and you said the Hulk boss fight was the best. The only one that could give it, or the one that gives it contention, is the fight at the end with Captain America and Bucky versus Iron Man, when they were just, oh my gosh, Iron Man was holding his own for a second, but then they kind of just hit a second gear. They was just tag teaming the mess out of bro. It was like it was like, oh my goodness. But it was so fantastic. It was so fantastic. He got beat up and stuff, but he was like, "I ain't no bitch," you know what I'm saying? You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Man.
And before I give my number 1 and we wrap this up, just to throw in, I think Black Panther had the great origin story, and then at the end, one thing that I loved is he finally caught the guy who was responsible for everything, and he spared him because he realized, and this is what makes Black Panther so great to me. He realized that he was driven by revenge and anger more than he was driven by doing what was right. So, and he understood by killing this guy, it wasn't going to bring his dad back, and it wasn't going to make him feel better that his dad was gone. And I just thought that having that moment of clarity for a superhero, I just thought that was fantastic. It's something that you don't see very much in superhero movies, and what made really hit me.
The
Um,
whole scene was cool.
and then this was, of course, our first Tom Holland sneak peek. He was only on screen for 5 minutes, and I swear everybody in the theater fell in love with him in those 5 minutes.
That's true. He was also active in the fight though. He like he made himself just like the funny like cracking jokes during battle, even though he's in the middle of fighting with somebody. You know, he's cracking jokes. He's nervous. Tom Holland easily the best Spider-Man.
Yeah, you could tell that he was a teenager, but at the same time, he was a super.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa! Is it
behind them? Because look, who is Andrew Baggins? I don't remember his name. Andrews something. And we Toby Maguire. They both look like they 35.
Garfield?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Andrew Garfield. They both look old as shit. Like they don't look like they're in. Was it what? Tell me if I'm wrong. Was Gwyneth Paltrow Mary Jane in the original?
No, that was Kirsten Dunst.
Okay, well I'll shut up there. Cameron,
but yeah,
Cameron,
no,
your number one, please.
But my number one, it's been mentioned before. This movie is special to my heart. Black Panther. I saw it my senior year of high school with my African American literature class. We took a field trip to a movie theater at around like 12:45. At that time, I was a bougie film fan, and as opposed to just being frustrated with Marvel, I was more like F Marvel. You know, I was on the wavelength of kind of like these aren't even movies; they're just like adrenaline rides. They're repeating the story over and over again, and I wasn't completely wrong, but I just had a very narrow minded perspective. So I was coming into this movie expecting it not to be much other than like, oh, it's just like an all black cast, which is cool, but it's gonna be like every other one. This movie, it's I don't know if it was something about just seeing a superhero on screen. I had seen Black Panther before in Civil War, but he was a side story. He wasn't the main story. Seeing someone as the main character, as a superhero, and a king simultaneously that looked like me is an experience that I will never forget. It had, I think, as far as writing goes, I think it's probably one of the best written Marvel movies. It follows a formula, but it does so in a way that feels fresh.
Yeah.
And it carries over. He just has so much honor to him. Black Panther. That's something that like you can say about Black Panther that you can't say about every other superhero. I think I've seen Black Panther spare more people in like the movies that he's been in than like I don't know. Just like the guy the other guy from the other tribe comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, I'm king. I want to be king and everything." And he could kill him and he was like, "Just give up. Your people need you." And everything. And that character is what saves him. I think it has one of the greatest Thanos, great villain, great like boss. Thanos is great in that he's a villain that
he was like the
like as a final boss guy. Fantastic, yeah. Perfect. It's like Killmonger. He's the villain, of course, but at the same time, he's really not a villain. And I think I like that too. It's like you can sympathize with him. I've never seen a movie where you can sympathize with the villain, or it's very rare with Marvel. And I felt for him. I understood him because it was just like, you see your dad get killed, and how these people just go on and act like it doesn't matter. Of course, he would be upset. Michael B. Jordan is a fantastic actor. I think people already knew that. I think this was the movie that really established him as a great actor, and in a superhero movie too. I think he even arguably outshined Chadwick Boseman at times. Chadwick Boseman will go down. I feel like he will go down in history as one of the defining actors of our time, even though his career wasn't as long as it should have been or could have been. Him playing this character has established him in history forever. Someone will eventually, in the years to come, someone else will take on the Black Panther mantle. Someone else will probably even play T'Challa. No one will ever forget about Chadwick Boseman. This movie is just so special to me. And yes, CGI can be kind of flaky at times. The action sequences, I admit, I've seen better action sequences in the other Marvel movies. As far as the story, as far as the characters, and as far as its impact on me as a person, I can't see any other movie I would put as number one.
Mm. I can't disagree with that. Great point.
All right. So we will now move on.
Before we move on, I'm sorry to the people. Cameron, you're going to have to excuse me for just a moment. I will be just a minute, entertain the people while I'm gone. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I will take this time to explain what we will be moving on to. So Shane and I, along hopefully with you, we have started Lovecraft Country. This is a drama / supernatural horror film on HBO Max or HBO. Yeah, on HBO Max. It's on HBO. And it stars Jonathan Majors, who was in another movie this year, called The Five Bloods, which was one of Chadwick Boseman's last movies. It stars Journey Smollett, and Courtney B. Vance. I think before Shane gets back, and I will get his opinion on this when he gets back. I don't remember watching something and being this simultaneously excited and intrigued and angry at the same time. It made me angry. It takes place. It's a supernatural horror series. It takes place in the Deep South. In the 50s. So Black people, the main characters are Black. They already got to deal with a level of racism, a level of disrespect. At the same time, there's these unknown creatures that they don't know exist. They're out here killing people, and they come out at night. And just the comparison between racism and like monsters, because racists are really are monsters. People that can look at a certain group of people and be like, I'm better than you. You don't deserve the same stuff that I deserve. I'm willing to kill you and do all these horrible things to you just because your skin is a different color. Those are monsters. And you can't tell me otherwise. And if you sympathize with people like that, or if you excuse people who believe that they're better than other people, you can kiss my ass. I try not to. You can kiss my Black ass. Yes, you're a bitch.
You can kiss Black ass, and then you can kiss. It's not as black as Cameron's face. You kiss mine too. Hey, why we at it?
But the main character, the main character in this show, his name is Atticus Freeman. He's a veteran from the I believe the Korean War, and he comes back home because his father, he's gotten word from his uncle that his father has gone missing and hasn't been around for at least 2 weeks. But twist is he knows this, and he's actually gotten a letter from his father telling him that he's gone to a city to reconnect with his mom's side of the family, because like they got stuff.
He doesn't know what it is though. He was very ambiguous in the letter. They said something about claiming what's yours.
Yeah.
So
his uncle, he teams up with his uncle George, and his childhood friend, Letitia, um, and using the Green Book, which for those of you that don't know, in the 50s or during Jim Crow era of the South, the Green Book was published for Black people to know what like hotels and restaurants and stuff that they would be allowed to go to and places they could go in order to keep them safe. Because back then, and really now, it not it's Jim Crow laws don't exist, but it's not like a bunch of stuff has changed. But if you went to the wrong place back then, especially, you could get in a whole lot of trouble and it could even cost you your life. So this green book was given to Black people to know where they could go and be safe. So using this green book, they traveled through the South. They're from Chicago, and they traveled through the South to get to Massachusetts, where apparently um, his father is. On the way there, they encounter some you.
That's a confusing route. Why would you go?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Artem, Massachusetts is. I guess I would have to look at a map, and I'm not trying to do that. But they go to the South. On the way there, they encounter. There's one specific scene that just pissed me off. Like I always hate watching these things,
Yeah.
where it's just like white people being racist to Black people, because it's just like it just irks me. There was this one scene. It was like this white scrawny teenager. They were at a gas station, and he was making like monkey noises at the like putting his arms up behind under his ears.
Atticus was eating a banana, and talking to Letitia, and this white boy and a couple of his. I hated. You know what? I almost hated it worse than the white boy was the white girl's reaction.
Laughing behind him.
Like, oh my god! I can't believe you're doing this. Like,
yeah, and he was making these noises, and the thing that pissed me off is that if Atticus went up there and smacked him in his mouth, he could have killed him. He could have murdered this dude. But he knew that he couldn't, and he had to restrain himself. Even though this guy was doing this to him. This guy was being racist and being a prick overtly, and he had to restrain himself. Because
actually, Cameron, it was Letitia that restrained him. Remember, Letitia was like,
told him to stop, but then he had to back down as well.
Yeah,
neither
okay.
Neither of them could do anything.
Both sides.
Yes, neither of them could do anything.
What I'll say, like, and this is a little different. So it's a little different just because that was probably just more on this in a general sense, more open about it in the 50s and stuff. But just generally, people who really call people out and stuff like that have never experienced the ass whooping, Cameron. And that's like he had the confidence to do it because he was a white male, but he also probably never got his ass whooped before.
Exactly.
Like he would have got what's up? You know what I'm saying?
I think the people that make those types of jokes and do those types of things overtly and constantly are people that they've never really spoken or interacted with anyone Black or anyone that they're mocking. They've never said this to anyone. They've never said this to anyone outside of their white friends or their dumb, ignorant, childish friends who are gonna snicker like the little white girls were. Because like if they would have said it to like another Atticus Friedman type, they would have gotten smacked in the mouth. And they know this. And that's the only reason why they do it. And specifically in this case, they can even get away with it a little bit more because they're like, we're white dudes. We know you can't do anything. We know if you do something, you're going to be hanging from a tree at the end of the day. So I can do this and everything, and you have to shut up and take it. And that's what really made me upset. Because even if he realized in his head that this guy can whoop me, he knew that he wasn't going to get away with it.
The power of privilege, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just know you got no discipline really. You got no repercussions.
Yeah. And yes, the two white girls, and there's some white people that I'm not gonna generalize and say all, but there are some people that like to um distance themselves, or it looks like Shane, are you there?
We back. We back. I just not you would disappear for a sec. Can you see
Ah,
me?
okay. Shane got frozen, or I got frozen. We'll see when this comes out. But
Back.
it's like some people like to distance themselves from being like racist or being prejudiced and everything because, oh, like I'm so and so, or like I'm this and that. Like those girls, even though the 50s, let's be honest, the 50s wasn't that great of a place for women either. Not even for white women. I'll say it just straight up. But they, in that moment, they were just as complicit in that racism, in that prejudice as that white guy was.
Yeah.
They can't make any excuse for it. They were just as responsible.
I
And
don't know if you caught it too. The dumbass gas station attendant was laughing at the shit. I was like, bruh,
yeah.
no repercussions, bro. It's crazy. No repercussions.
So they continue on, and this is where the episode really heats up. They continue on, um, and they get lost in like the woods area, and then the sheriff pulls up. This white sheriff pulls up on them. And he's like, "Everybody, come to the back of the car." He's like, um,
You skip I well, we don't gotta talk about every point, but I like Atticus a lot as a character. I like smart black characters.
yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing. Yes, that's one thing. We can like recap like specific things about like the characters and stuff. Like,
Well, what I was gonna say was I like I just love the direction this show was going. The scene in the restaurant when he was like, and I didn't know this either. So this was like or I probably did, but it was, it's just been a minute. He was like, hey, Uncle, I forgot what they called him, Uncle something. Why did they paint the White House white when they were in a restaurant? And then when he exposed the burn marks at the bottom, I was like, oh,
yeah,
it was about to. I mean, other skinny white boy in the restaurant calling the police. He's talking about they just showed up. Like they're just like dogs or something.
yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, you did. Yes, I did skip. Yes, I did skip. I did skip that part. So they're at the restaurant, and I love Journey Smollett in general, all the way back to Robounce. But like Letitia in this, I just there's certain tropes that people fall into in like horror movies. She hears this thing, immediately runs out. We got to get the hell out of here. Grabs them and everything. They run out the.
In the car. She
Yeah,
pulled the car up.
like, get in the car. There's no time to process. Oh my goodness! Like, do you think they would really do that to us? Oh,
Uh,
oh my goodness! Should we get help? No, they immediately run. I just thought that was just so smart. And they're driving away from these cops who are shooting shotguns, sniper rifles at them.
half just like the crazy white folk in the city. Like they're just
Yeah, and they're gaining. They're gaining.
oh, get them. You know what
All
I'm
of a
saying?
sudden, this white car swerves in front of the police. Oh, I knocked my computer. Swerves in front of the police car. It flips over, kills the people in the car, and this white, bluest-eyed, blonde white lady gets out and looks at
Yeah,
them.
what I say about them white devils earlier, Cameron? What I say about them white devils now? When she got out the car, I was like, oh, bro, because look, like you say, she was the blondest, bluest eyed female I had seen. And you staring at dark attic. I'm not even trying to be true. You staring at, I mean, like the contrast to skin tone when you didn't expect a white woman to come out of that car. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
It was very shocking. And like I said, it was like she almost didn't look like a human.
Yes.
And also, the cop car didn't make contact with the car. Like it was on some mystical stuff. Like it flipped, but it was like it was a force field around it.
Yeah. Um. okay, so they spend the night at Letitia's brother's house. Um, and Letitia, she's been around and everything. She missed her mom's funeral, and both her sister and her brother are hamming on her for it. We don't exactly know why. We don't exactly know the circumstances and everything, and they're arguing and arguing. Um, and it triggers Atticus because hearing Letitia fight with her brother reminds him of him fighting with his dad. So you kind of see that they already have some type of a conflicted relationship. And something that really like hit me was George. A glass breaks and everything, and then Letitia's like, "Let go of my arm, let go of my arm," and Atticus is about to go in there and like stop it, and then George grabs him by his arm and he's like, "Don't get involved. That's family business." And
Yeah.
it's like kind of just it's like and I think just with like the black community in general, it's like we can like and just like people, but it is an issue with the black community. It's like we can see stuff going on or other people doing stuff to other people, but we separate from it or choose not to address it because it's quote unquote not our business or it's family business and we need to respect people's privacy. And it's really sad. And it was really sad in that moment.
Yeah. And I think that's like that goes back to just that survivor mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't involve yourself in anything extra you don't need to be involving yourself into, or you bring unnecessary conflict, and then who knows what happens. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and especially with black people in like the 50s, it's like we're already survivors by this point, right? We don't need
Everybody for
help
themselves.
with every little family situation. We're not suburban white people that like, oh my goodness, does Jimmy like me at school? We're like, no, is my friend going to get lynched by the Klan? You know, that's the type of stuff that we're worried about.
They
No,
had
we can survive on our own. We don't need to interject ourselves into everybody's problems. But it is kind of sad that he sees that and it kind of messes with him a little bit. And then he also calls out Uncle George for being aware of how his brother would treat him and everything, and not stepping up either, though. So that's the flip side of it, though. It's like, while yes, survivors and everything, being so disconnected that you see someone being hurt, legit hurt, and you don't interject yourself. He went to the army to get away from his father, which I think is a very interesting point. Because like black men got drafted a lot, just a lot more. Poor white black men got drafted a lot more than white guys. And this one seemed like a choice. It's weird. A black man in the 50s choosing to go to war, not because he was forced to, but because he just needed to get away, just have some type of purpose and get away.
And that shows like you don't got a lot of opportunities to go to. I guess he could have been, he could have done some factory work, I guess, but I don't know I don't know the reason behind him going to war, other than you don't really got a lot of opportunities. So and you get a confirmed slew of things when you join the army. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if they was doing tuition and stuff back then. And that could have played a part in it, because Atticus is also intelligent. So that could have been part of it, him going to college. But it is wild to think he got out of how bad that relationship, or how just toxic that relationship was, to be like, I'm gonna go shoot some people real quick. It must be a little bit better.
Like someone like him, who's just, you can just tell he's not an inherently violent person. He's a very kind guy. So it's just like a contrast. But like the next day, they leave her brother's house because they're like, forget about this. And this was the part that I skipped to originally. Am I right? They're in the woods. And they get lost. And then this white sheriff drives up and he's like, hey, this is the stereotypical racist white sheriff, but
Absolutely, dude. Just skinny, long neck,
skinny,
just
long neck. Yeah.
white. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, in reality, I mean, stereotypical, but then at the same time, not, because it's just really how in reality they were. So it's very truthful. But he comes up and he's like, "Hey, you know this is a sundown town, right?" And it's like, if you're here, if I like caught you guys, and he said some racist stuff. But basically what he was trying to say, if you take out the racist white person, ignorant hillbilly shit that he said in between, it was basically like, if I would have caught you guys out here past sundown, it would be my moral duty to hang all three of you from to hang you from one of these trees. And there, which is already like, that's already like, so I was already getting scared. Okay. They already had they already had a violent type running with white people before. All right. So this is just a second.
Like he has a shotgun, like he's holding it
over his arm.
Oh yeah, bro.
And he's like, sundown over here is at 7:09.
I also didn't know what a sundown town was. I didn't know that was a real thing.
Yeah, it's like a curfew. It's a curfew for black people, basically.
Yeah,
if you're out past curfew, they can do whatever they want to you. That was in the South.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's scary. But so they told him sundown is at 7:09. That's 6 minutes. That's about 7 minutes from now. And he's like, we'll make it. And he's like, well, I don't think that's possible going south. And he's like, okay, we'll go north. He's like, okay.
Other way around. Oh, is that what turned them south?
Well, one of those directions. He was like, I'll go this direction. And the sheriff was like, no, you can't do that. That's not possible. And he's like, okay, I'll go the other direction. He's like, that might work. And then he was like, but you got to go the speed limit though.
Right.
And then
homeboy, they like, okay, we'll go to speed limit. They're like, all right, we'll get out of your hair. Atticus looks back. He's like, officer, is it illegal to make a U-turn here? The officer, he wouldn't have taken kindly to anything he said, but in his head, he's thinking, oh, this smart uppity black person trying to talk back to me, thinking he better than thou.
Yeah, so he was like, I mean, if you ask me nicely, I'll let you do it. And then he basically I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but he told him what to say, and he made him ask him it, and he asked him just to get out of it, and he was like, since you asked so nicely, I'll let you go. It pissed me off. So they were driving fast, and then all of a sudden they see in the far background the cop car pull up, and so has to start slowing down. And the sun is sinking.
Speed limit is 25.
And then the police officer is driving up, hitting them in the back of the car, trying to intimidate them.
He's literally, if you're not a foot out of my county, out of my like area of land that I am the sheriff of, it's wraps.
Yes.
He chases them for and like Cameron said, he rams into the back of their car.
Career ending them until, and then driving.
But Atticus, who's driving, can't really do anything because he gotta stay the speed limit. And Uncle George, that's the name, Uncle George.
Yes.
Uncle George is like, when they see the train tracks, which signified that they had gotten out of that area. It was small, but I just like Uncle George was like, watch your speed. It was just like going back to well, he said don't speed, but I think that's just like, and maybe I'm taking this a little bit more deep than it was, but like going back to be black with modesty, or like do everything under the rules. don't break any rules. Like follow to a T. You don't got to step out of place, or it's gonna be your ass.
Yeah.
I just yeah. He chases them. Can I take over a little bit from here? He chases them, and they get out of the area that he patrols. So cool, they get out of this area. Not but 2 minutes after they leave that area, they look in front of them, and it's a blockade of 2 cop cars, about a handful of cops with their guns locked and loaded. And then
So it was basically an ambush. The sheriff let his people know that there were black people in the area, and they blocked them off. And they take the.
It was like he was hurting them, bro. It's like bro. I just get so pissed off.
Yes, it's very upsetting, and I think for me and Shane, it makes us just that little bit angrier, since it's like I don't know. It's like I don't know if you have that connection with like people of color on screen or on stage, and you see them like getting like accosted, or you see racist stuff, and it does kind of feel like they're hitting at you too, you know?
Instantly.
Yes, and I think that's what made that. It makes me. It's just like, you know, so like leave them alone.
That scene though, where that police car was tailing them, that was hell. They were doing close-ups of terrified. And I think it just built on I haven't been that anxious in a minute. That's not true. But from TV and film, I haven't been that anxious in a minute.
So they drag them into the woods, and they're like, okay, it's at night. It's nighttime by now. The sun has gone down. They drag them into the woods. They're like, hey, there's been some robberies around here, and I know what you're probably gonna say. Oh, we don't live here. We're just passing through. We've heard it before. And they put the guns up to their heads, and then there's rustling in the woods, and they're like, what's going on? It's like, it's probably just some wolves or whatever. And one of the sheriffs is like, that doesn't sound like a wolf.
They start making some crazy noises.
And then all of a sudden, this monster type, it looked like one of those Hulk dogs from the Hulk movie in 2003, jumps out, eats his head off. It's a big.
He mentioned the monster earlier when they first encountered that first police officer in the forest. I think because Atticus went out and Letitia followed him, and he made a reference to the book he was reading, which is Lovecraft Country, or
something by H.P. Lovecraft, who's
facts. And he was like, this is this monster. It's got it's a big blob of something. It's got 100 eyes. So he mentioned it beforehand, and what do you know?
Yeah, and the monsters start killing these white cops. Atticus and Letitia take off running as fast as they can. Uncle George, who's older, starts running, gets tackled. The monster eats the dude on top of him. He stays down.
That's crazy.
Atticus and Letitia run into an abandoned like barn type thing where like the sheriff and one of his deputies run up. The sheriff has been injured and everything.
He got his doggone piece of his shoulder bit off. It was nasty looking. Ugh.
And so Uncle George eventually he takes a flashlight and eventually makes his way back to
the cabin
and
yeah,
who are in the barn type thing with these 2 racist cops.
Can we talk about Uncle George? You a nuisance, arthritis knee boy. Like, come on, son.
They referenced it earlier. They were like, after the first one, they were like, what if we had to like run out of? It was like, what if you ready to run if we have to? And they're like, it's like they can't catch us. And they're like, they can catch Uncle George. It's just I love how they just set that up because he immediately falls.
Oh, my boy fell. That's funny as hell.
But moving along, Uncle George makes it back, and they discovered that these monsters don't do anything when they're confronted by light. So they're like,
he made Atticus,
yes, and so Atticus is like, I'm gonna go back and get the car, and then the sheriff is like, You don't. No, no. Now you're a smart one. You're gonna leave us. And it's
One
funny how
is one is
the
the
white
safe
people
side of the word.
they get so entitled. They're like, okay, we've done all this stuff to you now, but now you got to take care of us. Now that you guys seem like you know what you're doing. Typical white privilege type argument. He's like, you know what, you can't go. Make the girl go. And then Atticus is like, no, I'm not about to make Letitia go. And Letitia's like, no, I was a track star. And he's like, okay, you run as fast as you can. If you hear gunshots, keep going. Don't come back for us. And I think this part was one of the parts of the show that was getting the most like attention when it first came out. How fast Letitia was running. Monsters were jumping through the trees. It's a trope in horror movies where like when you're running from something, you're like, you're tripping all over stuff, you're going fast, you're shocked, you're doing stuff.
It's a trope that specifically white women, they usually got they boobies out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They probably just had sex in the woods or something. And then you run in, oh my god, the monster.
But,
oh no, I fell.
Yeah, but Letitia, she was running faster than I've seen people run on film in my life. That's a human. She was running.
Realistic about it.
Huh?
The realistic part was she was dipping, right? She was hauling ass. And it was the little she was when she was running, she was like, she was kind of making noises. I just thought it was so realistic because like if I was running full speed to get back to a car, I'd be and I thought something was following behind me, I'd be making them look like you have so much just like built up emotion that you just gotta like vocalize something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a super realistic scene. And yeah, going back, like she was running through the woods, didn't trip up once, full speed ahead, track star energy. Like, come
yeah,
on.
It was really hype. Now at the same time, Letitia is running to the car and struggling to start the car while monsters are dropping down in front of her. Sheriff Homie, who's gotten his shoulder bitten off, he's struggling, he's coughing and everything. Then he starts hacking. And George is like, Atticus? And Atticus is like, what's up? And he's like, what happens when you get bitten by a vampire? And they're like, oh. And then this sheriff is hacking, and then his deputy is like, what? Are you good? And then this sheriff transforms into the monster outside. And then they're like, Atticus is like, shoot, you got to shoot him. And then the white dude is like, well, he's my boss. I don't really want to. And then he's like, Atticus is like, shoot him. It's like the white guy's like, I don't know. I mean, he's done all this stuff for me. The sheriff zombie monster thing takes a bite out of dude's neck, murders him brutally.
Son, he deserved it too.
At that point, grabs the gun, fires off 2 shots in his back. The monster stumbles a little bit. It starts to get mad. Right when it's getting ready to run at them, Letitia comes in with the car, runs over the monster. You said what?
Drives through the front of the house.
Through the wall, knocks George over, knocks him unconscious with the car, runs full force.
I forgot that they did that to my boy George.
Atticus has to drag George over to the car.
Oh,
Letitia. They walk the rest of the way to where they were told to go.
They fend the monsters off the rest of the night.
Yeah, with light.
That actually touches on the monsters all got caught off by this weird ass whistle that nobody acknowledged.
Yeah, they were using light flare things to just, like keep them away, and then this whistle goes off and they all retreat. And
then that was the end of the story. Like that, they didn't come back.
Yeah,
it was kind of weird. So go ahead.
And then the episode caps off. They roll up to this mansion type thing where they were told to go, and then they knock on the door, and this guy opens the door, who looks. And now we mentioned the super blonde, super blue-eyed white woman. He's a super blonde, super blue-eyed white man, and he's like,
he was literally the male version of the female we saw earlier on. I was like, who is this? What is this?
And he was
What's going on here?
Yeah, and he was like, Mr. Freeman, already knowing his name, he was like, Mr. Freeman, we've been expecting you. And then cuts to the credits. This was a fantastic first episode. Fantastic.
It was one of my favorites of all times, actually. If I'm being real, one of my favorite first episode watches.
I cannot say enough great stuff about this. And one thing that I liked was a lot of the time when there's racist stuff in shows, or stuff like this, the racist people don't really get their comeuppance. Seeing that sheriff, now this is gonna make me sound, this is kind of messed up, but seeing the sheriff and all those racist cops get eaten and destroyed by the monsters was kind of like relieving to me, because it's like they're getting killed by themselves. You know, what makes them better than the monsters other than they look like humans and the monsters have a bunch of eyes? Like the fact that they were willing to kill these people, if they killed those 3 black people in the woods and lynched them or like got rid of their bodies, what would have made them better? You know, you can, when we destroy white bodies or mutilate white people, it's shocking. But when we take, say, a 14-year-old kid in the South and lynch him in a sugarcane field and everything, that's somewhat normalized. And I just felt it's just like it shocks white people when stuff like that happens to them. While we've kind of gotten accustomed to seeing, unfortunately, we've gotten accustomed to seeing people like us get murdered on national television, or finding people that look like us in the woods. Now, when this happens to white people, it's a horror film called Nightmare at Elm Street. But when this happens to black people, it's called the 7 o'clock news. And I just think that's interesting. Horror movies are framed around white people breaking the rules and getting punished for it, or framed around people going hunting white people. When you hunt a white person, it's a horror film. When you hunt a black person, it's just normal. It's just and I just think that's interesting.
Tell them, Cameron. Tell them, yes.
And I just think that's interesting. I don't even consider, aside from it being monsters, I don't even consider this show a horror film. I consider it, I'm not going to sit here and argue that we should go around killing people, but in that specific situation, those officers all had it coming. Every single, if you were getting ready to kill someone and I kill you to stop you from killing those people, you cannot argue that you didn't have that coming. Or that.
And you know what's crazy? He gonna talk about afterwards. Oh, aren't you a happy? Aren't you? What did he say? Aren't you a happy something? The monster just killed 3 of my men. I'm like, you were just about to kill them right now.
Said, aren't you a lucky N-word or something like that?
Cousin.
It's like white people are so quick to get sympathy on them for stuff and everything, but when we try to be like, hey, pay attention to us, they're like, get over it, you know? Or like, like how there's always a justification, like with the George Floyd thing, and I won't take too long, because we have to get ready to wrap up. But just like some final thoughts with the George Floyd thing, this man gets murdered. He supposedly bounces a check. Okay, let's say he bounced a check. He gets murdered. He gets tortured for 10 minutes and murdered on camera. And people still find reasons. Well, if he wasn't doing illegal stuff.
People still find reasons.
People still find reasons.
But when there's evidence in front of your face. There's evidence. And they're just still like, but what?
Stuff like this, when you're getting ready to do something and everything to harm somebody else, and they're like, well, I mean, you were getting ready to kill us. Apparently, we gotta have sympathy for. I'm just like, if you're gonna have that argument, but keep the same energy when your white folks get killed.
Right. He was he expected Atticus to say, "You're right."
Man, your guys really did get killed,
you
man.
know, that's all. that was super irresponsible. I'm sure they were great guys. I should have just took the bullet. I should have just took the bullet. We would have been good. You're right. That's on me. Like, what are you? You had a gun to my head like 3 minutes ago, and now that your life is in danger, we friends, we compatible.
It was really, yeah, it was messed up. And like going back to the Green Book, the areas of the map that are marked like dangerous places for Black people to go, his daughter went in and drew like monsters.
Yeah,
I just thought that was cool. It's like these
cool
monsters
setup.
in the woods are not that much different from you monsters in the city. And
what's the difference? The only difference is like one has claws and big teeth and doesn't have as big of a brain, but they're a carnivore, right? It's the same thing that goes back to like this. It's the same thing that goes back to even just like regular animals. You know what I'm saying? A bear or a wolf or something got I'm not gonna say wolf, but they got claws and teeth and they big and scary and strong, but they not worried about nothing, and they're not killing anything unnecessary. Human beings with opposable thumbs and a consciousness are able to justify and execute so many foul things, and in no other job, no other like position can a cop, and this kind of just going back to the George Floyd thing, there's no other job where you can't there. I don't know another job where you can kill somebody and they'll be like, hey, you was just doing your job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like, and back to like you said, the difference is they have claws and like mouths and stuff. But other than that, there's no difference. I mean, what's the difference between biting someone's head off and shooting someone's head off? I mean, is one better? Is one more justified, or is one more
ethical? What is one a better way to die?
Yeah, if I go and bite your entire head off.
Let me ask your family how they'll feel depending on how you die. Let me ask them if shooting you in the head will make them feel better than an animal eating them. That's
and I just think it's
got me fired up.
And the last point before we wrap this up, it showed these racist people are monsters. And a thing about racism that a lot of people make it black versus white. Racism is actually I will make the argument that it's actually as detrimental to white people than it is to black people, because it gives white people a false sense of security. It makes white people, they're building up a fantasy that they live in when it's really not the case. And if you take that away from them, they're unsafe. I mean,
it's harmful in the systematic sense, but it's not more harmful to them it's not more harmful to them in a systematic sense. I mean, like, it sets them up not to be good human beings, but it's not more harmful to them. You know what I mean?
I think it harms their you not benefiting from you. People of color have been white people have benefited from people of color no matter what they want to believe.
Yeah.
If you get rid of us, or if you shut us down, you're shutting yourself off from so many resources, so much artistic creativity. You're cutting off your own resources, because you can't, regardless of what they want to believe, Black people are just as responsible for creating this country. Immigrants, people of color, are just as responsible for creating this country, if not more, and probably more than white people ever were or ever will be. And putting us aside or acting like we don't, or shutting us up, it can only affect you negatively in the future. And a point that I was gonna make is that the white guy, the deputy, thought he was going to be okay because the monster was his sheriff. Was the sheriff? The monster was his boss.
Wow.
The sheriff kills him brutally, murks him, rips out his bites his jugular off. He thought he was safe. He thought his connection with him made him safe, but in reality, it's still a monster regardless. And I just thought that was
a few seconds ago. He was about to take a man's life, and then this, you see, and you got these creatures following you. He's scared of they're killing them out of fear, out of fear and ignorance. And then there is a half human, half whatever the hell that thing was, transforming, growling, slobbering, got 2 doggone rows of teeth or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, he's asking if he's okay. But 2 seconds ago, you're telling, like, he's less scared of that monster than he was of when he was about to shoot the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize. That's insane.
And this show had a lot to, and I don't know how much they're gonna hit back with the element of them being in the racist South for the rest of the show. I don't know, because I part of me feels like I don't know. I don't know how much there's gonna be an element. I just know this first episode was great. It made you think a lot, and I am looking forward to watching the rest of this show. And watching this show with Shane too, and experiencing these things together and coming and talking about them like this.
And the people, if they're following along, you feel me?
And the people. It's gonna be it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be a really cool ride, and I'm really excited. So guys, with that, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. To watch that second episode. If you haven't already, I can understand if someone would just want to sit down and binge this. It's it has binge quality to it.
I damn near didn't stop. It took all my willpower to stop watching.
Yeah. So watch that second episode. Thank you for joining us this week.
Man, Cameron, get some energy on the outro. Get some energy.
This show is fun to talk about. At the same time, it does kind of make you think about like the reality of like the country and everything you live in, especially as like a black man, So it does make you think, and it does. While there's like entertaining elements about it and everything, a lot of it does kind of hurt. I'm not gonna lie, but Shane, I think if I was watching it with anybody else, if I wasn't watching it with like you guys watching, it would be a lot. Watching it with you guys and watching it with one of my best friends makes it a whole lot easier. But thank you guys for joining us. You guys are my homies now. If you weren't, thank you so much for tuning into our second episode.
Please, thank y'all, man. Hey. Go ahead. Sign this out, man. Sign this out, Cameron.
All right. So from the Cam and Collins collection.
It's the second episode. You gotta get the title right.
Connection collection. For the connection collection. The Cam and Collins connection collection. That's what. Nah. Okay. No.
Okay.
From me and Shane, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week.
All right. Saying much love, y'all.
All right. Bye, guys.